When you are, I'm
Episode 37.
37. Patrice Bergeron.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode Patrice Bergeron, number 37 of The Complete Game. I'm your host, Kurt Schilling, and this young man is my son, Garrett. What's up, G?
What's going on, everybody? Happy 4th of July. We got a ton to get into
We
today.
do.
We got Kershaw's 3,000 strikeout.
Clayton Kershaw, 20th member of the 3,000 Strikeout Club. Congratulations to him. I mean, just first ballot Hall of Famer all the way. Love seeing it. Great guy. I've met him a couple times. Don't really know him well, but just seems like top of the charts from a character perspective and first ballot Hall of Fame lock. So congratulations to Clayton. You know what? We're gonna jump right into this. Garrick, I want you to explain. So we have a situation developing in Cleveland. Pitcher Luis Ortiz has been suspended with pay pending an investigation. And Garrick, I want you to explain from the beginning how this came to be.
Quickly, before everyone that was waiting for the All-Star, we're pushing that
Right.
just because of this story with Luis Ortiz.
We're
because
gonna, and there's no rush. The All-Star team.
We got another week and a half.
I'm going to revisit the All-Star team stuff when the pitchers and extras are picked, and we'll go from there. But this demands a conversation.
So, in addition to that 3,000 strikeout game, Max Muncy also left the game with a knee injury. We're going to talk about that as well.
That inning, and then want to shout out to Robbie Ray, old school complete game, 9 innings, 2 earnings, 2 solo homers, 7 punch outs, 9-3 with a 2.6
against his former team.
Against his former team, slowly, probably very slowly, sneaking into the Cy Young conversation.
Building an argument.
Yeah, building an argument. So, Garrett, let's talk.
Everybody
gambling.
that is a baseball fan, maybe even not baseball fans, heard about Shohei Ohtani earlier this year with the gambling prospect and his translator taking brunt of the blame for that. But more recently, Cleveland Guardians starting pitcher Luis Ortiz has been sidelined due to recent allegations of gambling. So on June 15th, an inexplicable amount of money, according to some sports books, was put on second inning first pitch
and this
ball.
Is called a micro bet, apparently.
Yeah,
right.
Or prop bet.
Yeah,
if you're a gambler,
right.
If you're a non-gambler, essentially what it is true degenerate gamblers can bet on every single pitch of the game if you really want to.
You could literally bet on every event during a baseball game, right? This guy's at the plate. He's going to hit a home run or he's going to hit a single and get massive odds either way. It goes all the way down to what Garrick's talking about. You can literally bet pitch by pitch in a game. And that's all right. So take it away, Garrick.
So, for example, and just to give credit, I got this. Friday Beers did the full deep dive that I'm following. June 15th, Luis Ortiz had a second inning first pitch ball that had about 50 grand to 500 grand somewhere in there. That's the alarm section for a DraftKings, for a FanDuel.
And apparently there's a company.
They get notified. So
there's a company that scours the internet gambling, FCIB or something, and they flag irregular betting activity.
So I'm not sure of the specific branch or company that does that. When a line is moved so significantly from a portion of money that comes in on a specific bet, something especially so specific as first pitch ball in the second inning, which is what happened the first time on June 15th, Luis Ortiz threw a ball that was very unconvincing.
And Garrett's going to link the videos.
I'll link the videos, and I will also mention that I forget where the first start was, but it was in a state outside of Ohio where obviously the Cleveland Guardians play. So skip a start, June 27th, Luis Ortiz, again, in Ohio, there is a flag for third inning first pitch ball for, again, 50 to 500 grand, amount of money that makes sports books get an alert and say, something's off here. Fast forward to that start, the third inning first pitch, it hits the infield grass, and I'll put it below in the description. It is one of the most.
Watch the video, and it is. So the first one, he does like a shoulder shrug, like, oh, I missed the strike zone, which is irregular.
Yeah.
Right?
The first one, you could feasibly be like.
Right, but his body language screwed him because you throw 110 pitches, you throw a first pitch ball, you can find 100 other first pitch balls he's thrown, no body language.
Big problem.
Second one is I certainly threw some short curveballs.
Vladimir Guerrero wouldn't swing at this pitch.
Which is saying something. Or his son. I threw first pitch curveballs, or I threw some splits that I spiked. This was just blatant no effort, and the body language in the finish of the pitch was like uncomfortably bad.
Uncomfortably no effort.
Yeah.
I mean it.
All right, so what happens?
When I say it bounces in the infield grass, you guys click the link in the description. I promise you, it is the little circle where they usually have it in the strike zone to show you where the guy missed or how close it was. It is legitimately all green inside that white little circle
grass.
because he's hit the infield grass. That's how much he missed by. 88 miles an hour straight into the dirt. And then yesterday, July 3rd, he was scheduled to pitch in Chicago against the Cubs, interleague play. About an hour before the game, he's cut. Told, you're not going to be pitching tonight. We're doing an investigation into your last few starts, and it's all due to this gambling thing.
And Major League Baseball and the PA came to an agreement. He's suspended with pay, and upon further investigation, I'm pretty comfortable well, I'm comfortable with two things. I'm comfortable they're going to figure out that because they're going to find out who the gamblers were. Yep. Right. And they're going to know, and there's going to be a link.
So do you have any, my guess, and again, it's one of those things that growing up as your son, what kind of fucking moron would you have to be, excuse my language, to gamble that yourself? But growing up in the locker room, I grew up around guys from the DR and foreign countries. They keep their circle close.
Right.
So it would make sense to me, especially as a gambler myself, that, hey, I have control over this thing that you guys could each 5x your money on tonight. And it's just a throwaway pitch. So, hey, my 5 best friends, I'm going to throw the first ball of the 3rd inning for a ball, and all of you have your mortgage covered for the next 6 months.
Right.
So that makes a ton of sense to me. All right. I don't blame Luis Ortiz. I don't think he's a bad guy, but it is the type of thing that all professional sports, not just baseball, will be compromised if they do not make an example out of Luis Ortiz.
And that's it. I have so many thoughts on this. My first thought is this. There is quite literally no possible way that you can stop this unless you eliminate prop betting completely. Think about a game in Major League, one game, and there's 16 a day, 15, 16 a day. One game, there's 250 pitches thrown, which means there's anywhere from 60 to 80 at bats. Every single one of those pitches and at bats can be prop betted all the way through. Because now smart bettors aren't going to bet 10,000 on the pitch, right? They're just going to incrementally 500 here, 500 there, 500 here, 500 there. It's not going to flag, but there's too much. And this was what we all saw coming. We all saw this coming. I'm firmly convinced that, you look at the college basketball scandal, you look at the NBA referee scandal, there's no doubt in my mind that across the sports, because you can get prop bets on a D3 basketball game. Who's paying attention to a D3 basketball game? You can get prop bets, I'm sure, on D3 hockey. It's just everything and everywhere is covered by betting and gambling, and the sports have benefited from it. The hypocrisy is embarrassing, but you can't allow, if you don't eliminate prop betting, or if you don't immediately step up and say, Luis Ortiz, you're banned for life, you're done with baseball for the rest, never again, because it has to be a bloodletting to send a message.
So my thought on that is, we've talked about Pete Rose on the show, right? And a big part of the problem that we've had with Pete is that he bet against his own team at times, right? I think that's an impossible ask. There's no way you're ever going to be able to prevent a pitcher from not being able to, you're not going to be able to make, unless you do what you're saying, eliminate prop bets entirely. There's not going to be a scenario where you can have prop bets where a pitcher will not be able to influence that entirely, right?
Right.
I don't think you need to eliminate them. I think you need to get rid of first pitch strike. That seems absurd. But home run and in play and foul ball
stuff that let's see,
stuff that is out of your control. Whether you're pitching like a home run derby, for example, right?
How about prop bets that only benefit the player you're betting on? So strikeouts for pitchers, home runs for hitters, hits for hitters. But even then. Hey, we got a prop bet that Vladimir Guerrero is going to get a hit in his second at bat. I'm the pitcher. I can make it much easier for
You
Vladimir
can make
Guerrero.
it easier, but
Right,
you can't guarantee it
right,
like you can a first
right,
pitch ball. You
right,
know what I'm saying?
right,
Like that's the problem with Luis Ortiz bouncing it in the dirt for
right,
me at least is it's so unconvincing and pathetic.
right.
Like it
Agree.
it is like a goalie saying I had 5.5 goals and it's 4-0 us. So phew,
Yep,
phew. Like
yep.
it makes the whole thing seem like an absolute joke. Like
Well, and we're in a day and age when I would argue that there's probably, and I might be high, 25% of NFL fans think the league is rigged.
I would say you're not wrong.
Right. I mean, given the penalties we've seen with, and here's the thing, we're now in the day and age.
To not be too quote unquote woke on that. I mean, there's been times as a Patriots fan, sure as shit when Tom Brady got suspended for 4 games, I thought, yeah, it's rigged.
Right.
But then we won the Super Bowl.
Right.
So.
And he got the MVP from the commissioner that year.
He had to hand him the trophy.
So,
Suck it, Roger.
but this is a slippery slope you can't step on. You either have to blow it up today and make sure Luis Ortiz never plays another game in the big leagues. If everything is convinced, and I'm pretty comfortable. And if I'm wrong, I will apologize and hopefully move on. I pitched in the big leagues. I know what I watched with those 2 pitches. I'm very comfortable. Those were intentional balls without very little.
I try not to make any definitive statements because I never played professional baseball.
Right.
I was never anywhere good as Luis Ortiz is. But I can tell you for a fact right now, as a prep school and college baseball player, I never in my life bounced the ball off the infield grass that I was trying to throw to the catcher.
Right. For a first pitch. Especially first pitch.
No, there's no world.
I get it. No, I've spiked some 2-strike pitches trying to overthrow them, but a first pitch fastball? What?
And I think he threw it 3 to 4 miles an hour under his average velocity.
Right,
like he's trying to spike it.
Yeah,
it's
dummy.
It
Just
is so. I mean, he got pulled from his next start, so it's not just it's not conjecture.
And let me just tell you, as a former player rep and a member of the Major League Baseball Players Association, that they agreed with Major League Baseball tells me that there's a buttload of evidence that they're like, oh shit, this is going to be bad, and we probably don't want to get in the way of this. So let's just make sure the kid gets paid because he's never going to get another dollar from the game after this.
And I mean, let's talk about your time in baseball.
Right,
cheating was very prevalent.
Right,
you know, it was anabolic steroids for the most part.
Absolutely,
and there was absolutely gambling when you played, right? No
Nope.
problem, no question about it. But the way it's regulated and the way that DraftKings especially and these other major gambling companies are married to these professional sports organizations, it makes it cloudier when you have moments like this where now Luis Ortiz either has to be made an example of and he never plays a game of baseball again, or it's acceptable. Right. You know, it's a thing that it was the first ball of the inning. Who gives a shit?
Right.
Which is not what you need.
This has to be a violation on the level of the White Sox, 1918 Chicago White Sox. It has to be.
You have to treat it like
because again, it's not a slope. Actually, it's a cliff. You take a step, you're off, and
especially with the way that gambling has been integrated into every professional sport.
Yep,
like down to the pitch.
College, we've had college scandals over a lot. Basketball, baseball, all of them.
But college has been $1 billion industry that has been selfish for the entire time it existed until the last couple of years. Professional baseball and football and basketball, those industries will crumble if everything turns out to be thick.
The second your fan base believes it's not real, you're done.
Done.
Right? I mean, we're talking in the NFL. We've talked. You've seen the pass interference. Was it Rams Saints?
It was the Rams Saints in the NFC Championship.
Like that, we had cameras. We got to oversee the replay, and it was like, oh my God, you'd have to be rigging the game. Well, they're not rigging the game, right? I mean, come on. But we're not talking about 50,000 here and there. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars.
And that's just talking about those people that put wagers on it, not the guys who play in the game, not Luis Ortiz, who could be making $25 million a year if he actually played the game.
I'm probably thinking that he had nothing to do with the upside of winning the bet, other than he just helped his friends make money.
Again, I'm a degenerate gambler. It's also the fact that I grew up in the locker room with you. Those DR guys, every guy that comes from a different country, they keep their circle close because those are the guys they grew up with, and they're in a place 6,000 miles away from home sometimes.
And it's one of the reasons why you talk about players who you surround yourself with.
I asked you this before the show. Your 5 best friends when you made it to the Baltimore Orioles in 1988. How much would it have had to been had to have been for you to throw a first pitch ball in 1 inning? You know, something inconsequential like that. 50 grand for each of your buddies. How
Yeah,
much?
and I'm thinking about that. Like, I'm not naive enough to think that I wasn't young and stupid. Like, okay, what's the big deal? It's one pitch.
one ball.
It's only one pitch of the
I'll
game.
strike the guy on the next 4 pitches.
Right.
At that
Or
time,
whatever.
you at your age,
Right. But you know, I don't know that I would have done it. Just because I would have been
you
too
can't
scared.
say definitively you wouldn't have.
No. And again, it wouldn't have been
grow
me
up in the
benefiting
Dominican
from
Republic or Japan or somewhere else where this is a completely foreign place to you.
Yeah.
This might be your last year.
Yeah, I don't know.
You don't play well.
I just know that they need to this kid, and I believe it's going to be true. If it's true, he needs to probably be suspended for life. I mean, this is what we believed that Pete Rose did.
And Shohei.
Right.
I mean, to go back to that,
right.
I mean, one of the craziest things that's happened in sports in my lifetime, probably, that was kind of swept under the rug. Like, if that comes out that Shohei's translator is placing bets on his behalf, and it's Shohei's second at bat walk, and he just stands there and doesn't take the bat off his shoulder.
Yeah. But again, not a slope, a cliff.
A cliff.
Right.
I mean, and it's not just for the objectivity of a regular season game 85.
Right.
This is whether your team makes the playoffs, because you've been in game 162 where we need to win this or we're not in.
Yep. Wow. No. Holy crap. So let's pay. We'll be paying attention, and I think the sports world will be paying attention to this one, because this speaks to a much more sinister, evil, and significant amount of depth. Like I said, college basketball. Think about how many college basketball games there are every week. Hey, I'm betting on your missing your first shot.
Baseball is the most prevalent one. Okay, so I'm glad you mentioned that, and I don't want to get into this, but do you want to know what the top comment was on the video I watched of this? Not Caitlin Clark.
Yep,
Angel Reese has been missing every shot on purpose. Right. That makes a ton of sense to me.
Right.
Why wouldn't she?
Right.
Hey, Angel, 25 of your best friends want to make $1,000 on a $500 bet.
And more sinister, Angel, listen up. You're making whatever, $200,000 this year. I will hand you $1 million at the end of the season if you miss your first shot on these games.
Why not?
Okay, I'll just get my own me bound and put it back up.
Yeah. Which again, like, we're not getting into,
No. I'm not saying it.
That's how
that's where this goes. That's where it goes.
Talking about, like even you, a guy, again, people can believe this or not. I do believe that you are and it's because of the way you raised me to play baseball. Like, the game is above. There are certain rules that
yep.
are so a part of my makeup that like I can't imagine having a Luis Ortiz type of opportunity and taking advantage of it for my friends instead of, because of the regard you raised me with, for the respect for the game and all the guys that came before you and all they did to set you up to make millions of dollars.
Right. All the things my dad instilled in me would have probably been the reason I didn't. And I'm not saying I'm a goody two shoes. I've done shit, but
it would have been a hard decision. For you.
There were certain lines that would have never been crossed. Steroids.
And you're not from a poor country.
No,
you didn't play with a milk carton.
No.
You know, like, that's the other factors of this, that I don't think Luis Ortiz is a bad guy.
I don't know him.
He might be helping his 5
I don't know him,
and
it might be 5 of his brothers, literal brothers, who are living in the Dominican in a shitty house. You know, I don't know. And this, you know, there are always kind of two sides to a story. There's not two sides to the story in this one, in my opinion. There's a lot more depth to the story than just he threw a pitch for a ball to help his buddies make some money.
Yeah.
I hope that's the case, right? Because the fear is, I mean, my God, dude, this is where the mob lives.
He's in
this
in
is where the mob lives.
And he needed to,
And, you know, I said this before, every spring training, we'd have somebody from the FBI or the CIA come in, and we met people from the mob who talked about.
But you're saying that to me because I've heard you talk about that, because that is something that people don't know.
No,
like,
so every spring training, if you don't know, look up his name, Michael Francesi.
Nobody knows this type of shit.
He was a made member of the mob, and he came to a couple different spring trainings to talk to us about how the mob operates inside of professional sports. And his number one thing was, all we need to do is get the hook in you one time, and you're done. We own you for the rest of your career. And I was on a team with Lenny Dykstra, and he made allusions to to Lenny in several conversations, like, Lenny, you know what I'm talking about, buddy. And it was like, holy shit. But this is where they live. And mob doesn't care. They don't give two shits. If the mob's into Luis Ortiz and he gets suspended, move on. They'll
I mean,
find
and you don't have to name guys, but guys gamble. Like
right.
guys were gambling on other sports, whether it was baseball or not.
Well,
Guys
listen, I
love
didn't
to
play
gamble.
fantasy baseball when I played baseball because I was afraid I'd be that guy where, hey, Larry Walker's on my fantasy team. I'm beating it. We're up 9-0. I got Larry Walker on Sunday. I need another home run. Let me, I didn't play fantasy.
That's entirely what we're talking about here.
Right,
That's
right.
the antithesis of the entire subject of why gambling and professional sports is a scary marriage.
Right. And it really is. It is a shotgun wedding kind of a thing.
Especially because it's been the last few years where it's gotten legalized across the country.
Right, right. And we had the Tim Donaghy stuff well before gambling was it was listen,
was that,
gambling's
2000?
always been prominent in sports.
What was that, 2000?
That was the early 2000s,
Yeah,
I think.
early 2000s.
But this is a ref who fixed games and said he wasn't the only one doing it because that's where you go when
He
you
said
want to
3 or 4 others during the playoffs
Right.
were in corroboration with him as a part of the same pay-up group.
Right.
Because they were
Right.
in debt to somebody.
Right. Yep.
And
Yep.
that's that. When that goes from the guys who officiate the game to the guy who has the ball in his hand, that's where me as a fan, I understand to a degree that there is some vested interest in everybody who's on the field, whether they're neutral or not. I understand that referees have, especially I'm a big hockey fan, true and diehard hockey. I understand if you go to the penalty box and you say F your mother on the way to you might get something later on because of that comment. I get that if you get a call and you argue with that guy a little more than you should have, in terms of pitcher
Right.
cordialness, that stuff adds up. That stuff accumulates. But when you're doing stuff like this, it's not even there's no human element to it. It's all fixed. It's not real. It's fake.
Yep.
Which makes it not fun to watch.
Well, was it the Rams Chiefs Super Bowl where the Rams hadn't been penalized the whole game and they got penalized 3 times in the last minute? The
Eagles.
Eagles, right?
Eagles.
Remember that?
And they were marching in the end zone and
Right.
they got called in the passing.
Right. And there were like 3 and it was like, wait a minute, dude. Yet they haven't called a penalty. Those are but Steve, this is the kind of event right here.
They also had weird grass in the field that's been talked about for 4 years. Thank you for making that come to my mind because that is what I do not want. I do not want my World Series to be talked about because Luis Ortiz might have been gambling on Game 3, which he lost. Right. I don't care about that. I want it to be David Ortiz batted .800 in the World Series. I want that to be the storyline.
Yep.
That's my biggest problem with this as a sports fan.
Yep. Yeah, this is a topic that's not going to go away, and we'll keep on this as we go. I want to quickly mention we have spent a lot of episodes, and I've spent a lot of time talking about pitching, young pitching. And we watched Philly right-hander youngster Mick Abel come up and beat Paul Skeens 1-0. Had a couple good starts. Today he gets sent down. He's 2-2 with a 5.04, and and Robbie Thompson says Mick needed to go down and breathe a little bit. Okay, I agree with that. He's not ready for the big leagues. He wasn't ready for the big leagues when he got here. And that first outing, God bless him, he'll remember for the rest of his life, and it's awesome. And it's not his fault. He's not ready. These pitchers are not ready. And if he's going to go back to AAA and the pitching coach in AAA isn't going to get hands on and say, "Hey, we got to fix this. You got to dial it back. We need to get your then this is pointless. This is pointless because he's going to come back from AAA and be the same guy he was when he went down." And
Mick Abel, by the way, on the game he was sent down after 1 2/3 innings, 2 hits, 5 earned runs, 5 walks, 3 Ks.
5 walks.
So it is a
what did I say?
Whatever you want to call it.
On Monday, who could throw 7, punch out 13, and give up 1 hit. And Friday, with the same stuff, could go 2 1/3, walk 5, and give up 5 runs.
And by the way, Nick Pivetta on the other side, journeyman throughout his career, a solid starter, 9-2, 3.25 ERA. In that same game, 6 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run, 6 Ks, 0 walks.
Yeah.
That is the difference right there.
Right.
Managing mistakes, giving up a home run, and saying, you know what, that's behind me. Like that's so. I watched him on the Red Sox for a few years. That's the type of guy I got Nick Pivetta as.
Here's the problem. Last year, Mick Abel was 3-12 with a 6.46 at Lehigh Valley. Okay, a 6.46. He walked 78 guys in 108 innings.
He was, I think, if I'm correct, this is all memory, 179 whip after that year. And then this year,
He
he was
comes into
about
the minor leagues this year. He goes 5-2 with a 2.5 with walking 19 in 46 innings, which is not good.
his whip was just above one, though. That is
Right,
where they
right.
saw improvement and they thought he was ready to move up. And
And
his
that
whip's
again,
right back to where it was last year.
the people that are, and again, it's not just in Major League, it's sport wide. They don't know. There's a large number of people who don't know what they're seeing or are misevaluating these young pitchers. Mick Abel has a chance to be a Hall of Fame pitcher. My God, Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Mick Abel, if he's ready, is a monstrous top three. He's nowhere near ready. So basically, he went, and you know how I said, in the minor leagues, you master a level and then you move up. He goes 6-3-12 with a 6.4 at Double A. Goes to Double A this year, gets pumped to Triple A, and 46 innings later, he's ready for the big leagues.
That's what I was saying, though, to you, because the only major improvement in terms of statistics or StatCast that they talk about nowadays or sabermetrics is the whip improved by almost a full point.
Right.
So they were like, all right, he's
It
giving
went
up
from atrocious to bad.
he's giving up one less base runner an inning,
Right.
which is still a whole other run
Right.
when you give up 6 walks a game.
Yeah.
So
And I said, and again, I hope the kid gets it right. But they need somebody in AAA that actually can make a case for this kid and fix him because he's not ready to pitch in the big leagues. He wasn't ready to pitch when they called him up this year, and it's a disservice to him. It's a disservice to them.
It's not that he's not he's not got enough service yet. He has the stuff, right?
Oh.
His
Again,
stuff ridiculous.
I told you, Johnny Padres.
He beat Paul Skeens 1-0.
Give me an arm, I'll make you a pitcher.
He beat Paul Skeens 1-0. I mean, he has the stuff. It's just about it's refining and sharpening.
Here's the thing. I haven't looked at the bat last start, but I promise you could go back and take the heat map of his first 1-0 win and look at this start, and there won't be a lot of difference in fastball location.
Yeah.
Except he'll miss badly.
Or it'll be 1 or 3 calls.
Right,
that's the MLB difference.
But you walk 5 guys a month, not in a game. If you're established.
Pitches versus 2 walks and 5 walks.
So it sucks to see that because I really want this kid to do something. But I'm telling you right now, if he goes down and they don't fix him, and he needs to go back to AAA right now, spend the rest of the year. July, August. And then, they're going to call him up in September, of course, because they've already started his clock. But they're not doing him any favors. They need to let him sit in AAA for the rest of the year and do those things. Maybe send him to instructional league and get down there, get somebody with him. Because if this kid can learn to finish his delivery, he's going to be very, very special. So anyway, sucks to see that. And that's, again, real quick, Cal Raleigh. 2 home runs today. 35 breaks Ken Griffey Jr.'s Mariner record for home runs before the break with 35. I would love to tell you I drafted him on a fantasy team because I saw this coming. Nobody saw this coming. I sure as hell didn't. But good for him. He's been on PM. He was on PMT, right? Pardon my take.
Yeah.
And how was the interview? Good guy.
Oh yeah, he seems
funny.
Just the most especially growing up as your kid, like sitting around Tech and Mirabelli and just getting to know catchers goalies in hockey. Like they're all a special breed. And Cal seems like a guy that umps the way he described his relationship at the plate, like the guy you want back there.
Good.
So.
All right. We got double name or guess my teammate.
No, I actually wanted to bring up a movie topic. So I was talking the other day about, and I briefly brought this up to you, is what makes an MLB or not MLB, a baseball movie. Like, so give me some
what
of your,
makes a good baseball movie.
Give me some of yours right now when I ask you, like, what's a good baseball movie? So
Bull Durham was good.
So I wrote Sandlot, 40
Natural,
Moneyball, Major League, Benchwarmers, Rookie of the Year, The Rookie, Bad News Bears, Mr. 3000, A League of Their Own, Bull Durham, Field of Dreams, Fever Pitch. What are some of the things in these types of movies that make it good for you?
So there's only one thing for me. I have to see legitimate athletes playing baseball. If I don't have that, I'm done.
It's tough.
I barely got Bull Durham's a great movie. Tim Robbins was barely passable, but okay. Right? I mean, I knew he wasn't throwing the ball 99 miles an hour, but the rest of the cast, Kevin Costner could play.
Yep.
Yeah,
so that stuff I always find fascinating is like the guys who take pride in like maybe they didn't play baseball growing up or whatever, but they do not want to come off as a jerk off who
Kurt
has
Russell.
a
You know who
standing.
Kurt Russell?
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Stunned to see him never star in a baseball movie. He played Double A.
Did he
He
really?
went all the way to Double A baseball.
Do you know who for? I've
Catcher.
never heard
Oh,
of that.
oh yeah, with the Mets, I think it was.
I've never knew that.
And there's actually a documentary on his father who owned the team in Portland, and they were a what do they call it? Independent league team, and it was a phenomenal movie. But Kurt Russell was a Double A catcher in professional baseball, legit stud. That was his first dream in life.
Okay, so a couple questions I have just written down for in terms of like importance. So on a scale of like 1 to 10, all right, say
Athleticism is a 10 for me.
a 10. Okay. What about MLB licensing? Does it have to be like the Red Sox and Yankees?
If it's telling a major league story, that's huge.
Okay, so like the rookie, like
Mr.
with
3000.
Dennis Quaid making
Right,
the Rockies is okay.
Right.
So it's important that he makes it to the Rockies, not the Rocky shot tops.
Right. That's kind of like a 6 for me.
6. Okay. So the story, does it have to be a real baseball story like a Lou Gehrig or
No.
Okay,
Field of Dreams.
Field of Dreams, bench
Great
warmers,
story.
all that stuff
Right.
is great. Okay. That I agree. It doesn't
Right.
That's like a 2 or 3 to me. It doesn't really matter as long as it's, bench warmers is funny or Sandlot is a great
I want a good. The Natural to me is a great story.
great
Right.
movie. Time period. So like right now there's not
Don't
many
care.
baseball movies coming out, but
That's-
bench warmers versus
So
like 42 for
hold
example.
on, back up. What was the one we just did?
Like the story, like how much does
The
it matter?
story is
whether-
probably a 6, 7 to an 8 for me. Time period is a 2.
Okay. How realistic they play baseball? The music that accompanies the story. So like for me, The Sandlot. I'll never forget the music from The Sandlot.
Right.
When they're going around on the merry-go-round with the dip in their mouth.
the audio behind The Natural when Redford hits the light tower.
Or a lot of people probably right now are thinking of Moneyball. Like Moneyball is a very famous soundtrack that people put to a lot of.
I don't remember that.
Kershaw has like I've seen 3 or 4 videos now of his 3,000 strikeout with the Moneyball sound in the background.
Yeah, I don't.
But there's
soundtrack to me is a 2 or 3, but I like the thought of something that's memorable.
Okay, and then last but not least, the lead actor. How important is that to you? So
8.
8? Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of my favorite baseball movies, even though I didn't realize it until I started thinking of these questions, have some studs as their
Robert
leads.
Redford in The Natural, Costner in Field of Dreams, and Costner in Bull Durham were I think, and then the one where he's the Detroit Tigers pitcher.
Some of the ones that I wrote, Fever Pitch with Jimmy Fallon and Drew Barrymore. That's one of my favorites of all time for obvious reasons.
Quick story. We win the World Series in 2000.
Wait, hold on.
Okay,
we'll tell us at the end. 42 with Chadwick Boseman.
Yep.
R.I.P. He was unbelievable. And then Major League with Charlie Sheen is one of my favorite baseball movies of all time because it's just such a joke of what Major League was like.
Right.
And it was such a funny juxtaposition for me to watch. It was almost like Hanson Brothers. Why am I blanking? Slapshot. It was the Major League Baseball Slapshot for me.
Yeah.
With the voodoo dolls.
Yeah. Joe Boone.
Like that.
Yeah.
It was all just a very exaggerated, hyperbolic version of what it was like to be in a Major League locker room. So I just wanted to ask that instead of our game for the week. We'll be back on Sunday with Put Them Together, though. So
right.
Be a hint of that.
Real quick story. 2004, we win the World Series. We're out on the field in St. Louis, and I turn around, and Drew Barrymore and Jimmy Fallon are jumping up and down on the field, and I'm like, what the fuck? Well, Fever Pitch was originally ending with the Red Sox losing. We came back and won. They rewrote the end of the movie, and they came down on the field as part. They were filming it on the field with us, and I was like, part of me was offended from the standpoint of we earned the right to be on that field and what we had done to be on that field, but I mean, it was not that big of a deal. But
so the best part of that too is when you watch the movie, even if you watch it today, like you can kind of feel that when you're seeing the end of the movie that they were supposed to lose. Like she runs on the field and says, "I don't care about your tickets," blah blah blah. And it's supposed to be like the Red Sox lost, but they had their love and happy ending. Right. And then they had to go to St. Louis and follow you guys because they had zero expectations of you guys winning.
Yep.
So that's one of my favorite ones of
Yeah,
all
yeah,
time
yeah.
too. And a movie that even non-baseball lovers will love.
Yeah,
Like it's just a great movie.
absolutely. But it also the Red Sox, the treat Jimmy Fallon's a Yankee fan, which first of all makes it really effed up.
And funnier that
Right.
Damon and all
But
those-
he is what I always envisioned dyed in the wool, born and raised Boston Red Sox fans were like. Every ounce of his house, getting his season tickets, hugging the
Oh
UPS guy.
my
All of
God.
it.
That scene
All
where
of
they divvy out the season.
with the presenting the ring case with the opening day tickets. Totally, totally.
I'm an anesthesiologist. What, you don't mind me? No, I don't need you shaving me.
Hey, we passed 800 subscribers. So first off, thank you guys. Spread the word, hit subscribe. We're gonna be moving over to a different platform pretty soon that will allow us to start interviewing people. And I'm gonna get Tito on this show and Doug Mirabelli, and we're gonna talk and laugh and have a blast. So a lot of other people.
And if
So
you guys have anything on the gambling content that's going on right now, or any other questions that you'd like to ask my dad, please leave them in the comments
drop
and we
the
will get
comments.
to them. So
Take care. Happy 4th of July. God bless you guys. God bless America.
thank you for listening. God bless America.